Hi to all of you who are interested in the subject of retirement. Are you coming up towards retirement? Have you recently retired? This is my first podcast on this subject, so important to all of us. Because unless we die earlier, we are all going to reach an age of retirement at some time or another. I've been retired for 28 years, took voluntary redundancy at 59, and I'm now 87. And in this series of podcasts, I'd like to let you know what I have learned in all of those years. Is it as we expect it to be? I can tell you this. It is and it isn't. So many people look forward to retirement but don't give it a lot of thought. It's as though one day it's going to come along and I'll be free. I won't have to get up and get into the traffic jam anymore. And of course, all the thoughts about retirement at this stage, generally, except around the monetary side of things, and I'm no expert, so I'm not going to talk about the monetary side of things, everything is about how positive it's going to be. Thoughts of freedom. And if you can believe all the hype, people are going to be able to play golf for the rest of their life, or sit at the beach under a beach umbrella, sipping champagne, or going on a world trip and having photos taken near the Eiffel Tower, or the Tower of London, or some exotic beach in, say, Bali. This can be part of it. It can be. It isn't always, of course, but it can be. But that will not last. Eventually, you're going to have to settle down and say to yourself, well, now what? Now what? Because you might have another 25, 30 years of life ahead of you. And you haven't the wherewithal, the money, to go on a perpetual holiday. And even if you had, you'd become tired of it pretty quickly. So this is the time that you need to be introduced to the various stages of retirement. There is the promise stage, the promise put out there by society at large about how it's going to be. And then there is the stage where you're actually retired. The feeling of freedom. The holiday period, the honeymoon period as they call it. But that too doesn't last. You come back and you think, what now? As I've said, what now? And this is where you can become quite depressed. Because you've lost so much. You've lost your friends from work, you've lost the routine. You now may be thrust at home full time with a spouse who hasn't had to put up with you around the house before. Huge adjustments have to be made. And this can often become this second phase of, or this phase of disillusionment, disappointment, and even despair. And this can last for a long while. We know for a fact, the statistics show us, that people actually commit suicide. They can become so despondent, so despairing about being retired as if their life is now meaningless. But the moment they think to themselves, my life is now meaningless, is there a way out? They've already turned the corner into the next phase, the phase of searching. And the saying goes, seek and you will find. If you search long enough, you will find. And then you'll reach a nice, comfortable stage, a meaningful stage. Now, not all people go through all the stages. When I retired, I went straight to stage 3, seeking. I knew at 59 years of age that I certainly wasn't going to sit in an armchair and watch television. But that's enough for part 1 of this podcast. I will continue on in my next podcast of letting you know what I did to settle into the routine which later was to give me the happiness which I have, and I think with direction, with input from me, it can bring you to that stage 2, that happy stage, which is the stage of retirement we all want.